Monster Hunter Wilds just came out and we are gonna go over how to get through the game as easily as possible in the best way. First of all, you gotta make your character. The cutscenes are all skippable. You can hold select. That is a huge upgrade from World. You get to choose one weapon first. You are gonna unlock the secondary weapon later. It is not a big deal either way. You can just play with a single weapon the entire time. If you are a beginner in Monster Hunter, I recommend you try out the Sword and Shield, the Great Sword, the Dual Blades, or the Heavy Bowgun. Those are by far the easiest in my opinion. You can take any weapon really. I would stay away from the Charge Blade, the Hammer, and the Lance right now because they are a little too complicated, but I am not gonna stop you. It's your video game, you play whatever you like. You can check out my weapon guides for the combos of whatever weapon you choose. Keep in mind, every weapon in this game is like its own little class. If you are to play World of Warcraft like a class, is like that. The game is very different in the combat on every weapon, so you gotta learn the combos for each weapon. There is no shame in going to the training area right here behind, and you can figure out the inputs in there. They have a little tutorial area, it's really good. Some tips on the combat. You remember to get into focus mode with left trigger, right here L2, and you can aim your weapon and you are gonna see eventually, if you keep hitting a monster, that you're gonna see these red bumps. If you hit right bumper, this button right here, R1, every weapon has a different special mechanic where if you hit a wound with that ability, you're gonna get either a lot of damage or resources or whatever the weapon needs to work, you're gonna get a bonus on that, so that's huge. But overall, if you don't wanna figure out combat, what you need to know is that spamming triangle, triangle, triangle is like 90% of the battle in most weapons, so you can start with that. I am gonna let you figure out your weapon on the fly, okay? It's more fun this way. I am going to teach you how to get as strong as possible as quickly as possible. You need to understand Monster Hunter progression. You have zones, you can go to every zone and you can fight every monster, but the zones you have access to and the monsters you have access to depend on how you progress through the storyline. Every quest is gonna unlock a new thing that you can do. You can follow the campaign from the markers on your map, and most of the time you can just talk to the quest lady, that cute Persian lady right there, and she's gonna tell you what you need to do. It says assignments. They did a very good job at like integrating the storyline into the game a lot easier. It is a lot easier to follow if you don't care about the plot, but you're gonna be doing the quest, and remember that every monster has different materials that you can pick up after you kill it, and you can sometimes break off its extremities like the tail most usually, but all lots of other parts of the monster can be broken and cut, and you can loot those. You also gotta loot those. To loot the monster, you gotta hold circle on top of the monster, and if you hold circle, because you gotta loot it several times, but if you hold it, you don't have to press it several times. You can just, there you go, hold it. You need to sheath your weapon to gather anything, and also circle is gonna be the looting button for every other item in the game, and that's the things. You gotta loot every monster that you kill, absolutely, and you gotta gather every single thing on the map that you find. That is herbs, that is mushrooms, and that is most importantly mining materials. You can mine rocks in the game, and almost everything you make requires some mineral. So absolutely, if you see a mineral, I kinda recommend you to stop everything you're doing and picking it up, because you are gonna need it at some point. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. But as you progress through the storyline, you're gonna unlock new zones with better materials and better monsters, and those better materials are gonna make better weapons. What you are gonna learn is that the best way to progress through the game is to progress through the storyline as much as possible. Now here's the problem, is that you are gonna get stuck. There are gonna be monsters that are too strong for you and you cannot kill them, and you're gonna be forced to grind for gear. That's the game trying to trick you into farming monsters instead of progressing, and that's the entire part. If you grind monsters for materials instead of progressing through the storyline, the gear is gonna get outdated because you find better monsters for better gear, so that time is essentially wasted. If you wanna farm items to look cool, that's up to you, it's your video game, have fun, but for efficiency's sake, if you grind items in the early and mid game, you are just wasting your time. So to get through the storyline, we are gonna cheat, and I don't mean playing longsword, I mean like we're gonna abuse the materials, okay? Here's the deal, here's the trick. Progressing through the quest line is gonna give you materials even if you don't look for them, because you kill monsters to do the quest and you go through the area, you know, every material is rotting on the sun until you pick it up, so looted. You can go into your tent right here and open your item box and store everything you pick up, okay? So make sure that you don't have more than the maximum amount on your bags, so you can then go into the item box and and store it because eventually you're gonna need it. Most crafting materials are taken into the box automatically, so that's great. That's mostly for consumable reagents, but you should store them if you do not need them. But anyway, you can craft your gear by talking to the blacksmith girl right over here, and god damn, I wish I was that hammer right now. You start with your hope weapon and you can upgrade it, but you are better off actually getting some bones because you can instantly make a bone weapon. Bone weapons offer you a lot more options for upgrading. Every level you get a lot more branches in the tree, so to speak, and it is usually very cheap to upgrade because it is only monster parts. You can go here in the menu to see your weapon and it will show you all the upgrades that you can get. It is like a flowchart that breaks into different paths, and you can downgrade your weapon and go back to a different path if you want. You can regret and change. Usually you don't want to do that, you want to stick to one path and keep going straight ahead on that direction, but every 5 upgrades or so, you are gonna unlock a new craftable weapon. You can start over right away on a different tree, and almost every major monster is gonna have a new different crafting tree that you can craft from scratch. So do not sweat too much about the tree you choose, you're gonna be resetting it over and over anyway. Armor, however, is crafted from scratch, and yes, there is armor bonuses and set bonuses. We are not gonna care about those on the progression of the early game because it will take away way too much of your time to get a full set. It's not gonna happen. The only set that is worth spending time farming is the Doshaguma set because it gives you a lot of damage, and even then it's a waste of time. Just do not farm it, just mismatch with the leftover materials, your scrap materials. Just make a Frankenstein outfit of different armors of different types. It doesn't really matter. You prioritize the armor with the most defense. Why defense instead of abilities? Well, until you get your armor upgraded and properly in a set, the abilities are not gonna do a lot, but defense is gonna keep you alive, and if you stay alive, you are gonna kill the monster eventually, and if you kill the monster eventually, you are gonna progress through the storyline. Also, I do not recommend you to upgrade your armor. You can upgrade with armor spheres. They give you armor spheres along you progress the game. I do not think it's a good idea because you can just make a new armor from scratch a little later, and those armor spheres are gonna be very precious later on when you actually get the armor that you want and you gotta upgrade that. So save it for later. One thing you do wanna do is charms. You can craft them at the blacksmith too. It's gonna take you a long time to unlock them, but along the storyline you're gonna get these little things that give you a little bit of a bonus, so you might as well get those. They are always good and they do not cost you much. And also do not forget to use whatever you got left over. Last of the priorities, but anything you got left over you should spend it on your palico, absolutely. Also you can put them on a dress, and I thought that was really funny. But if you are a bit of a cheating scoundrel, there is an easy way out here, okay? This is the lame way, okay? Do not listen to me right now. What you need to remember is that even if you suck right now, if you progress through the storyline, you are gonna eventually get better gear anyway. So you just gotta get unstuck whenever you cannot kill a monster, and that's it. You are done and you can keep going. And if you are on an online lobby, you can fire an SOS flare when you're doing a monster, and other people are gonna come to help you and they are gonna kill that monster for you. It's cheating, but hey, if the other option is to grind for gear instead of, just getting through the storyline, it's an option. I wouldn't do it, but you wanna cheat? Go cheat. Also, there is 3 items that are gonna open a lot of doors for you in your life. That is Mega Potions, Null Berries, and Antidote. Null Berries get rid of a lot of status effects, and Antidote obviously is for poison. Those are very easy. They are just plants on the ground. You pick them up. Mega Potions are made by crafting normal potions and adding honey. Honey is the most valuable asset in all of Monster Hunter universe. If you see a beehive, you go there and you pick it up. You can open your crafting menu right here. Usually the mega potions get crafted on their own. You should absolutely, if you got a lot of honey left over on you, you should absolutely store it so you can pick up more later, because you can only carry 10 and that sucks. You are gonna need mega potions. They are like 3 times a normal potion worth of HP, and you absolutely are gonna need them to beat the harder monsters, because drinking 3 potions is a lot slower and dangerous than just drinking 1, obviously. You can use items by holding left bumper and dragging your stick to select them. Same with the sharpening stone, you gotta sharpen every time you can. You wanna stay at least on green. Another core part of progression is that you are eventually gonna find a weapon with a sharpness of blue level. That's gonna be your number one priority on the weapon progression. Get to blue sharpness, that's a huge power spike no matter the weapon. We are talking like a flat 20% improvement on your damage. It's insane. So the first weapon you can craft that is blue sharpness, you go for that one straight up, no matter if it is not the best weapon for you or anything. It is such a big power spike, it will be. Also, do not forget that you are eventually gonna unlock the kitchen, the restaurant on the towns, and that's gonna be great because you get a free meal in there. I mean, you paid with money, but it is not a lot of money. It's very easy to get. And food increases your stats. The recommended meal is usually fine enough, but if you wanna actually min-max it, you gotta go for stamina and HP, that's the best. If you do not have the restaurant or if you are on a camp away from town, you can also go into your tent and you can grill a meal in the tent with rations. It's good enough. Just make sure that whenever you go find a monster, you actually get a meal before going out. Because it is a huge difference. You get more HP, you get more stamina, everything. Money is not really a problem until the mid to late game when crafting gets a lot more expensive. But you can buy items in the stockpile. That's a cool thing. They are like usually just reagents. The stockpile guy is the guy standing on top of boxes. Ralph, I think is his name. Sadly, you cannot buy mega potions from him. You can only buy normal potions, but if you want to craft some stronger medicine, because there is better medicine than mega potions, you can get the reagents for it, but mega potions are like the most easy to get really good ones. So those are the ones you gotta focus on. Overall, Monster Hunter Wilds is not a very hard game. Of course, anybody can clear it if they got SOS, flares, but even without cheating, you can reasonably get through this game pretty easily, even though the game is really freaking long. Also, the end game apparently is very tough. We're gonna be talking about that in the next few days, but happy hunting, subscribe, join the Discord, and thank you for watching.